Hi, everybody. This is Rafael, and welcome back to Relationships and Beyond.
And this is Esateys, and we are very, very delighted to be with you on this sunny, beautiful day in Washington State. We're going to have an adventure in front of us right now. I wonder what it's going to be.
It's always an adventure when we get together and do one of these.
That's a true statement.
Well, today's topic is letting go of making your partner be the way you want him or her to be. Now, first, before you say a word, I just have to be, I have to be a little transparent here. When I wrote that title, I wrote it with letting go of letting go of making your partner be the way you want him to be, because I guess I have a little feelings that women make men be the way they want them to be. Now, I know that that's not accurate, but I'm just saying that's what's going on with me.
Your perspective is honored and respected.
Oh boy, this is getting deep now. Okay.
And it truly is. I mean, because the truth is that everybody feels that way about their partner. It doesn't matter if it's a he or a she, or a he, or a she. It really, really doesn't matter, because the bottom line is we always look over there thinking that if over there was different, then over here would be a lot happier. The majority of relationships are based on, just take a deep look inside and see if on some level this is true, doing your very best to get them to mold into what it is that you think would be best for them, which is really you feeling like that would be best for you. Because every single person wants their own personal world, their own little universe to fit in a way that aligns with their needs, with their beliefs, with their perspectives, with everything that they think is so perfect within themselves. And it is. The difficulty is for people is that they think that the world over there is not as perfect for that person as it is. And that's where the big abyss starts until it turns into the Grand Canyon.
Oh, I can understand that.
So what's important to realize is that, I will say it for the umpteenth time, relationships are the most powerful self-development tool ever. And what that means is that you are going to draw toward you someone who is going to give you an opportunity to reassess how you would like to be in every single moment. And is also going to give you the opportunity to determine whether you want to fight against or let go and be. And this is a really big challenge because the ego or the mind is so programmed to constantly be in action, taking charge, doing its best to make things be the way it thinks it ought to be. And based on that, there's no time for being or just allowing what's so in that moment to be so in that moment. Instead, it's like, well, I don't like this, and so now I'm going to do everything in my power to change it. I'm going to quick rush and make more money. I'm going to quick rush and get them to speak differently, to dress differently, to respond differently, to be smarter, to be thinner, to be heavier, to be whatever it is that our mind thinks is best for ourselves. And projecting it over there, the mind convinces us that we think that that's what's best for them.
Okay, so when we unpack this is, I always like to say when we unpack this.
I know you
think
do.
It's a cool thing.
That's good.
Okay, so unpacking this, there are a couple of things here. First is obviously our need to control, right?
Sure.
And then the second piece is the arrogance that we have thinking that we know better and what's best for them rather than just allowing them to know what's best for them.
And looking at it from within oneself and recognizing that they are being the way they're being to help you notice where you have restrictions, where you have judgments, where you have your belief systems running. And it's from there that we keep trying to make everyone, pretty much everyone, but especially in relationship, be different. I have spoken more than once to people, even before I was coaching for a living. I would speak to my friends and they'd say, "Oh, he's got some of the basics, but I know that when I am with him,
I'll fix them."
yep, exactly right." And I have heard the same thing from men. "Oh, well, she's pretty." Yeah, I see you.
Not men, no way.
Men do this a lot. They're going to make sure that they are whatever it is that that man thinks that she ought to be. She should be more sexual, or she shouldn't be so sexual, or she should be smarter, or she should have a different kind of job, or maybe she shouldn't have a job, or maybe she ought to have a job. It doesn't matter. There's all kinds of things, and all of these things that come from our belief systems, take it a step back, come from a place of where we grew up having belief systems that were ingrained in us from when we were children. So when you look very honestly within yourself, you can see that what you are feeling, what you're thinking, and what you're trying to get to change is based on a belief system that you acquired a really long time ago. I'll put it this way, it's rarely new and fresh and aligned, because if it was, you wouldn't feel like you needed to do anything.
I don't understand what you mean by being fresh and aligned.
Meaning that if you were more awake and more aware and you were connected to yourself at a higher level, you would realize that the other person is a reflection or a mirror, and based on that, you would see that they are bringing up stuff for you to be able to maneuver in a different kind of way than you might have in the past. In other words, from a really aware place. In other words, keeping it in a place where you recognize that what's going on, quote unquote, over there is the opportunity for you to be able to shift how you are being.
Okay, so just cutting right to the chase, how do we prevent doing that? How do we stop ourselves from doing this? I'm really thinking that this is like an automatic program. We see something we don't like, i.e., we see something we don't really like in ourselves, and we want to change it.
Yes.
Now what? What do we do?
The most powerful and important thing to do is to move over to the file cabinet called non-resistive living. The most profound thing you can do whenever something doesn't look the way you want it to be is to just be with it. That means that you observe it and you allow it and you breathe into it and you feel it in your body, wherever that may be. And it might be a physical sensation in your throat or your chest or your belly. There may be a tenseness. There may be a grinding of the jaw. Whatever it may be, allow yourself to just observe that. Be with that. And once the resistance to what is moved through, then almost always there will be another level of inspiration, if you will, or something that will come up that will allow you to not fight what's going on. That means that the other person may continue to do what it is that they're doing, but you're not at effect of it. And if you are, then you get to repeat the process over and over again.
Well, I will say from my own experience, and we did a lot of work on this in our last retreat, dealing with non-resistance and the freedom that one can have when we're just not attached to whatever is going on. And it's hard. It's so hard. In 1 minute during that process, when we did one particular process, I thought that I was really, just feeling great. And then as soon as we finished, something else happened where I wasn't okay with what was going on. It's like that instantaneous going back. It's the reversion, so to speak, of how we normally are. I know it's a process, but it's pretty challenging.
Yes, well, if it wasn't, it wouldn't be all that much fun, really, honestly, as we think it would. Everybody thinks that they want everything to go their way and be oh so smooth. The truth is that the ego would be very, very bored. The mind would just turn around in circles trying to find something. In fact, it still does. It looks for traumas and dramas, and it gets itself stirred up so there's some activity which makes it feel alive, and in fact, what keeps it alive. So if we're just really in a state where we're in peace and we're feeling good, although a lot of people say they want that, if they're there for too long, they will almost always self-sabotage and put themselves back in a place of trauma drama or some kind of conflict that will help them feel like they have purpose, they have value, because it's the doingness that makes the mind or the ego feel like it has value. The beingness is so not fun for the personality, the ego, whatever words we're using, because there's nothing in conflict. When you're in a non-resistive state and you're allowing life to be, it's jumping around and doing gyrations because it wants to have some kind of rub so we can get riled up and make things an adventure, get the adrenaline running, see if there isn't something that can be disrupted or disruptive in the life. So it's got a problem to solve. I mean, think about it. Men, and I'm not trying to sound sexist here, but men seemingly,
You are, of course.
seemingly more than women, always want to solve the problem. The women pretty much just want to talk about the problem. And for them, that seems to, a lot of times, just let itself resolve. But a guy is going to go and discern, okay, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's why there's so many difficulties in communication with relationships or in relationships, because the woman starts to share how it is that she feels from her heart. And she just wants to get that out because she knows on some intuitive level that it pretty much will work itself out. The guy, on the other hand, then takes the ball and he runs for a touchdown with it. And it may not be what she was even wanting.
Maybe in the wrong goalpost.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's very true.
So we were just talking about making our partner be who we want him to be, and now we've jumped off into this non-resistance. Can you bring it back and show us how we can utilize this more, or how we can keep in that state?
Here's the thing. If you have a perception shift that the relationship is there to help you grow, then when something comes up, you have the option to be able to frame it however it is that you would like to. You can either get mad and tell the person they need to do bop, 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 or you can allow it to be and go in and do your own inner process. I will admit that going in and doing your own inner process, for most, is really, really hard, sometimes seemingly impossible. So that means that there's all these other things that you can do. You can sit down and have a compassionate communication event with your partner. And we've spoken about this in other recordings, but one would be to sit down and use the I word, eliminating all of the me stuff. The you stuff. And when you communicate, you say something like, when such and such occurs, I feel. And I notice that I go back into some old program or whatever it is that is in ownership. We have to stay in ownership that whatever is going on inside of us, and they are just flashing an opportunity for us to be able to bring that up because it hasn't been completely dealt with. Otherwise, it wouldn't show up. So the first thing you can do is you can start by having a conversation about that. Another thing that you can do is to is to really recognize that what the other person is doing is that they are coming from the best place they know how. They may not, likely, they're not going to be thinking the way you think. They don't frame things the way you do. Their needs are different than your needs. And this is why in relationship, if you get yourself as aligned as you possibly can with someone before you get into a relationship, it will diminish some of the intense differentiations that will show up. But most people go first with the feeling of attraction and the way someone looks, and they forget about all that other kind of stuff.
So basically all the things that they're now, quote, complaining about or don't like, they initially liked, or was covered up by the lust that they had when they first got into the relationship.
Exactly. This happens pretty much all the time. And if you go into a relationship wide-eyed, then that would be a completely different experience. If you're already in relationship and you've got things going on, just sit down and you want to say something?
No, what I wanted to do is I want to get a break in here, and I wanted to go back. That's exactly where I was going to go next, is what happens to the people who are already in a relationship. There may have been significant abuse in experiencing this over a period of time when maybe neither of the partners was really aware of it. So let's take this quick break, and then we'll come back, and I have a very specific question for you to tackle for us.
I'm all over that.
Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, we're at the Stump Esateys section, which I just made up. Okay, here's the situation. We've been in a relationship for a couple of years. For all of those years,
A couple or all those years?
No, a couple. We've been a couple for the last 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe we have some kids. Doesn't really matter. But the point is, we've been in a relationship. We've been together. And all of these years, I have been either consciously or unconsciously or passive-aggressively throwing out my judgments about what I don't like about the way what you do, and making me feel badly when I do it, and constantly deriding me to change. And quite often women who are by men called nags, that would be kind of like where they want us to change. They want to change. So the question is, we got a lot of water under the bridge. And you're the person who has, in your mind, has been picked on, has been
victimized.
Victimized. There you go. That's a good word. What do we do?
Come back to the bottom line truth. We're the creators of our reality. We are responsible for what's in our lives. We get choice about how we be with what is in our lives. And we give up the idea that anyone can do anything to us. So you've all probably heard, what you think of me is none of my business. And the person who is doing the things that are irritating to the other person is usually wearing that shirt. They're either completely unconscious, or they are in a place where they're okay with you or the other person, whoever you're referring to, is whatever they're going through is okay. When you're at a very, very high vibration, you can allow other people to do whatever they want with it. What's important on your side is to stay really in an open heart, so you're not trying to really antagonize the person and quote unquote make it worse, but instead you're really true inside yourself. So after you start in relationship and you start becoming naggy with each other, or the situation may be, to use your example, she nags and so he shuts down, or he judges and she shuts down. And each one of these experiences, no matter how minute they may appear to be, they start building a brick wall. Every single one of those puts another brick in the wall. And what happens usually by the time people get to me for coaching is sometimes they have so many bricks in the wall that you can't get through them because they do not believe it can ever be any different. And it can, but not unless both people are really committed to letting go of all of the ways, all their habits, all their beliefs, and all of the perceptions that they have. If they don't shift, they're just going to keep on doing the same thing over and over again. So there has to be a willingness to not be right. Neither person can be in a place where they think they're right. And most all of the time when I coach people, one of them is they're both really looking for me to say something that will make them feel right. And the other one is looking for me to say something that will make them right so they can be, first of all, one up on the other person and prove that what they're thinking, what they're feeling is absolutely accurate. And that person just doesn't see it, poor person, whatever. And so they have their judgments going on. That's not going to be productive. What has to happen is you have to decide, do you want to be in relationship, with yourself in a happy way? And if you do not, then keep on doing what you're doing. But if you do, then look inside and become the person that you're waiting for or you're wanting over there. In other words, what's the saying? Seek the change you want to be in the world. That's where the real truth has to come into play here. You have to decide that what you want is the way you be, and how you be is what you want, and therefore that will attract the person who can align with that to you rather than having a dichotomy come to you. And that is a decision that has to be made by each individual. But instead, people stay together and they just struggle and they fight and they conflict and they do the one-upmanship and they attack and they do all these things, fighting a battle, a continuous battle, trying to get the upmanship. And instead, all they're doing is digging their own grave for themselves, their joy, their vibration, and definitely for their relationship.
So there was two really important pieces that you made. One of them was when you look at digging the hole, as you were talking about, do you think it's possible? So one person is feeling attacked, abused, whatever, and they talk to the person and they expect the person, what do they expect? What can one reasonably, let me put it this way, what can one reasonably expect when you go to your partner and say, I feel like you've been picking on me, I feel like you don't like the clothes I wear, you don't like blah, 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 blah. And what kind of reasonable expectation can that person have that his partner's going to change? Because what I'm really thinking is that the partner really has no idea that either they're doing it or it's some ingrained program, something that they feel bad about themselves that they can't really deal with or they can't really understand. So how reasonable is it to expect when you communicate with your partner that something is going to change?
Not reasonable. Don't have an expectation that the partner is going to change.
Okay, so this is a big piece. So then what do? You got to change yourself, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. Yes.
It means that...
her face just lit up. Yeah, I told you so.
Well, it's because it's the only place that change can occur is in you.
So we definitely, even when you talk to someone. So why do we talk to someone?
Because it helps us feel better sharing what's going on, because sometimes people are doing things so unconsciously that they don't know that they're doing that. And being aware of that occurring, they may make a different choice. And they may want to make a different choice, but they won't, because they're going to be one up on you. I'll show you. There's no chance I'm changing. Or they may go, wow, I just didn't even realize that I was doing blah, 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 blah. I do want to digress for a moment back to the things that you were saying, because everything that you were speaking, the way you were speaking, it was all blame and attack and victimization.
But I'm sitting here thinking that. So, I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Two people are in a place where they're not, or the person who's being abused is not in a good place. So what can we realistically
You cannot
expect?
be abused. You cannot be abused. That is a way you're choosing to frame a situation that's going on. So way back at the beginning here, we talked about there are certain principles or certain things that are really critical for a person to understand. First of all, your vibration and the way you perceive things is going to have 100% impact on whether you're happy, sad, mad, or glad.
Totally agree with that.
If you are in a place of victim, your vibration is low, your attitude's down, and you're not going to perceive what anybody does, even if it's something nice, from a really particularly great place. The other thing is that if you find somebody blaming you, then in that moment, you have the ability to rise up and go, wow, that person's really hurting internally. You don't say it to them because they'll probably smack you because they're not ready to admit that, or they may not even know that. But inside, you can sink into your heart and open your heart up and say, gosh, I see that you're really upset. That's all you have to say. I'm really perceiving that something is really disturbing you. And if you're in a clear, powerful place, you can say, tell me more about it. And this person may just dump all over you. And if you're in a clear enough place and you really know how it works, meaning that they're not really upset with you, they're upset with what they're experiencing inside of themselves, then you can be there and, for lack of a better term, hold the space. You can be there, and usually when a person's in that place that they're pretty fired up, it's really important not to fix it and not to say too much. Just let them go. Let them get it out. And at the end, if you can keep your mouth closed, zip it and just go, I'm really glad to know how you feel. I didn't realize all that was going on. No fixing, remember. Instead, just acknowledge them for their feelings. And they may come back and say, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, let me be with that for a while. Let's just let things settle down and we'll see where things go. I'm really glad you told me how you feel. You're not making any promises. You're not refusing to do anything any differently, because your job now is to go really do introspection. Gosh, is anything that person's saying true? Have I been a little snarky? Have I been kind of passive aggressive? Have I done some stuff that might have activated what this person is now telling me? Nothing ever happens without a mutual agreement. And each person gets to be a master or a victim in any given moment. So that means that you have an opportunity to not just sit there in your high horse arrogance and say, well, they're really activated. I'll just sit here and hold the space because, I'm like so awesome and I can do that and maybe they'll get over it. And if they don't, oh, whatever. It's not about that. It's about really feeling and being aware that this person is hurting and they don't know how to deal with it any better than they are right now. And they're giving you an opportunity to see if there's something going on inside of you. And if you are triggered, it's going on inside of you. If you are triggered about anything, that means that they opened up a wound for you or pulled the scab off of something, and it might have been from long ago, may have nothing to do with this person, but it's there for you. If you can sit there and truly allow yourself to be with what it is that they're saying, and you can feel open-hearted about that and kind, for lack of a better term, then that person will feel that energy most likely. It depends on how activated they are. And from there, they will have a chance to quiet down.
And you just brought this back to something I wanted to say before. I said there were two things. This is the second thing, and that is the willingness or unwillingness to admit, or it's that line in the sand where I'll only go so far, but after that, I can't I can't even entertain it because I have to be right. So it's that awareness of how well, I don't even know what the question is. How do we deal with bringing that awareness up to when maybe we can see that we have some work to do?
You come to our retreats.
Okay, I'll be there. Tell me when.
You come to
I come to all of them.
Listen to these podcasts. You come to our talks. You have us come to your area and do a retreat for you. And you really practice these principles, because if you listen to every one of these and you really took what it was that's being expressed here, it would be an amazing change inside of your life, truly. Because it takes a very committed person to get to a place where they're willing to accept that they don't have it completely together.
And you said something really important. Just listening to one of these podcasts once, it's interesting. It's not going to do it. I think it's going to need repeated immersion into these concepts and listening to these broadcasts multiple times so that you can actually begin to practice what it is that's being talked about. And another piece is that we do have transcripts of each of these podcasts, and it is on our blog on selfhealinginstitute.com. selfhealinginstitute.com. That's Esateys. Esateys creates all the content on that website, and it is about it will have a full transcript so that you can actually study any particular area that you think is important for you to look at.
So I would like to just put something out. It seems like we're doing like a little commercial here or something, but I don't look at this as a commercial. I look at this as essential for people to make a breakthrough by getting repetition. That's good, and that is accurate. So I'm really looking to work with a few great leaders to take this work, these principles, are universal, out into the world. So if you're a person that has a group of people around you, you have a following, you have a business, you have a practice, I would really love to speak with you about how we can make a difference in your life, your environment, the people that you know, and really shift the world. It comes one person at a time. And when you know X amount of people, there's many things you can do to really shift their lives into another whole place. And if you're frightened because you think they're going to think it's kind of weird, well, let's talk about how you can handle that. So you can send me an email at esateys@esateys.com, or go to our website, send something. But contact me. I'm really, really interested in pulling towards me people that really understand that the world is an amazing opportunity to love and be, and we can help each other do that more profoundly than ever before.
And I do recognize that your passion for creating leaders and to take this work out into the world, not just because it's our work, but because we can make a real change in the world and make this just a much more beautiful place for everyone and for ourselves at the same time, by raising our vibration and being in a place that we really know will help everyone.
I just would like to add in there that I don't look at it as our work. This is universal information that has come through me with a certain way of framing that will resonate for some people and it won't for others. That's why there's so many great teachers out there, is because everybody has their own way of putting things that will resonate with certain people. But before we end, I just want to kind of wind this up with, first of all, if you're with someone who is really abusive, I'm not suggesting that you necessarily stay there or do anything with that. especially if it's physical. I'm never an advocate of staying in a situation with physical abuse. I'm also not saying that it's necessarily correct for you or anyone to stay in a relationship forever. Many times we reach a level of completion, and from there, it's like, I've learned so much from you, and thank you for sharing, and you're gone, and you start over with someone, or in some other way. The other thing is that I do suggest that you follow the principles that I've suggested here about bringing everything back to yourself, bring everything back to yourself, bring everything back to yourself, and stop trying to make it change over there. And I shared this example on some other podcast, but I'm going to say it again because it brings me. I'd just like to give you an example of how I've handled some of the things that have occurred for me. And one of them is that Rafael drinks coffee and he walks down from the kitchen down the steps into his office. And along the way, he used to spill things on the floor a lot, and then he would leave it there for, maybe till house cleaners came or whatever happened. And that was very difficult for me, and I used to get really triggered about that. And what I heard was, if it's bothering you, do something about it. Don't do something about him, do something about it for yourself. So what I started doing is I started cleaning it up off the floor. Now, I know some of you are going to go, there's no freaking way I'm going to go clean up after him or whatever. And I won't say that I didn't have a little bit of feeling at first.
A lot of feeling.
You don't even know, because I didn't even tell you. At any rate, you didn't even know I was cleaning up after you.
I could tell. Yes, you told me, actually.
At any rate. So what I did is I would go around and I would just clean it up because it bothered me. And after I did that for a while, what I've noticed is that it's hardly ever there anymore. So he's either cleaning up after himself or he's not spilling it so much, whatever it is. But it's an example of how I took it upon myself to do what I needed to do to create peace inside of myself. And that's what I'm wanting to get across to you. You be the person that you are desiring to be, and make your life work the way you want your life to work. Because many times we have to look at the big picture. Would I want to divorce the man because he, spills coffee on the floor? I don't think so. On the other hand, a part of me wanted him to change so he'd be neater about that, or whatever the word is. And yet, after many conversations, that did not seem to be the case. So I just needed to do it for me. Think about a situation in your life right now where that might be the case with a partner or with a child or something else, and think about how important it is to you. If it's important, get it done. Does it mean you don't speak about it first? No, it doesn't. But if you don't get the results that you're hoping for without manipulation, screaming, yelling, blaming, etc., then just take care of it and get over yourself.
Okay, one last thing. Would you say this is an accurate statement? Be the change. You be the change that you would like your partner to be?
Yes, I'm not really sure. I'm trying to frame that in a way that makes sense.
Well, for example, you were just saying that you just decided.
Oh, yes.
You be yeah. Oh, you got it now?
I think, yeah.
Did I say it?
I just suddenly had this childhood thing. I was born and raised Catholic for a few years. And I think there was something that said, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So, in other words, it's kind of like what you're saying. Do the acts, be the person that you would like the other person to be.
Yeah, it's the same Nelson Mandela thing, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking that's just, and that's really what you did.
I thought that was Gandhi that said that.
Oh, maybe he did. Okay, that's right.
Whatever. You guys get the idea.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you. Okay, we're running a little overtime, but we do have a question today from Janice from Taos, New Mexico. It said, I listened to your podcast last week about what to do after divorce. And although I've been divorced for about 6 months, I still am not clear about how to re-enter the world. Can you give me some advice?
Well, Janice, first of all, I suggest that you go back and re-listen to that podcast again, because as Raphael was saying earlier, when we listen to something more than once, we hear it differently because, first of all, we are not the same person that we were the first time we listened to it, which is why I listen to most of the books that I listen to 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times. In fact, I'm re-listening to a book now for the 3rd time. And this morning I heard something, I thought, I never, ever heard that before. It's really phenomenal. That's why when I do coaching, I record them and I suggest to people, please listen to this more than one time because you will hear it differently. At any rate, Janice, the second thing I would suggest is if you would like to re-enter the world, I think that's how you put it, there are many, many things that you can do. First of all, go find a meetup in your area. Meetup.com.
Or a support group. Yes.
Yes, it depends. Support, it could be, but I think meetups are frequently better because sometimes support groups have this whole thing about you're constantly reiterating about how the person did this, and you just have to be aware in support groups and make sure that you're moving out of the circumstances and beyond it rather than just going over it over and over again. So at any rate, Meetup is possibly going to be something. You have to go there and be very aware. Stay very awake and make sure that when you leave, you feel uplifted and better. If you don't, do not return, because it's important that you enter a place where you are being elevated, not de-escalated. Another thing that you can do is to go on to your local city and find out things that are happening. And you can also do this on Meetup. Again, there are like a quadrillion little meetup things. Let's say you have a dog and you like to go hiking. So find groups that like to go hiking. If you like to bicycle, find groups that go bicycling. Do things that get with people that are doing things that you enjoy doing. Find study groups that are going over books that are very powerful. Just go out and do things. They don't have to be related at all to the fact that you happen to be recently divorced. It doesn't have to be about finding a new dating partner. I mean, if you want to, you can go to one of the many dating sites online, but 6 months isn't all that long, and my support to you would be you get inside of you. I would write a gratitude journal every single day. I would journal if on a regular basis, just to let yourself stay open. I would find things that brought me joy, and I would focus on that primarily. And also, depending upon whether you work or not, you can find people that are aligned to getting out and getting up. And when I say up, I mean vibrationally, attitudinally, self-development. Really bring yourself to a higher level of connection. And if you're listening to this, you're obviously doing that. So that is really awesome. And the other thing is, we have amazing programs that would really, really shift your perception about everything. So let me know if those are helpful and if there's anything else I can help you with, Janice. Feel a hug.
Janice, in particular, the relation, we have one main program which pretty much deals with many different areas of our work. And one of the areas, it's sold as a separate program or as as part of a comprehensive program, is the relationship reboot, where even if you're not in a relationship because you're divorced, it will reiterate and help you to get yourself to a place where you've made the internal changes so you'll attract the kind of relationship that you want. And that's really important. We call it, the part of the program is create or reignite the perfect relationship. So it's just something to consider. Okay, well, I really hope that helps. If Janice, if you have another question, just send it our way. We're here for you. And today's Question of the week, Esateys?
Big drum roll.
Da 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 da. Oh God.
What if I kept all of my focus on my own personal growth? What if I kept all of my focus on my own personal growth? If you keep all of your focus on yourself within you and you stop projecting, quote unquote, over there, you will find that your life is going to be incredibly more peaceful, more loving, and you will develop the skills for non-resistive living more impeccably than ever before. What if I kept all of my focus on my own personal growth?
That's a pretty powerful statement. Wow.
Okay, this has
right.
been awesome.
Yes. Each time we do these shows, I have more and more fun.
I always have a good
And
time.
we really like being with you. And we love to get feedback about the effect we're having on people and what we can do to support you. So send it our way.
Until next time, remember, I am you, you are me, we are one. Feel a hug.
Take care, and we'll see you next week.
Bye for now.
Take care.